That is lovely. Do we know who 15613 is? Anybody? Okay, thank you. All right. And Grotto. All right. I guess we'll start with just reminders. Those of you that have been with us for a while, you can plug your ears if you want to, because you know these backwards and forwards. But the first reminder is when you are taking your dog out in public, please be sure that they are looking spiffy. I'm not going to say grooming anymore because some people have said, oh my God, I have to groom my dog. I have to take them to a groomer. No, just they need to look clean. They shouldn't have poop hanging from their butts. They shouldn't, those are areas that you have to check. Are both females and males, sometimes when they've gone potty, it sticks to the back of their feathers. And so please check that. And I just noticed recently, and I'm not quite sure why this is happening, maybe her age, but I noticed that Quinn's hair is a little tiny bit yellow from peeing. So I am going to figure out how to get rid of that. I thought about just cutting it out. Yeah, not going to do that. So I don't know if anybody knows of a good shampoo. But it's so very light. And just because I'm aware of that all the time, I saw it and thought, okay, I need to do something about that. Not that she's necessarily out in public, but she does go, because she's a therapy dog, she does go to nursing homes, and I take her to children's events with me, and I want her to look lovely. So that's what we want your dogs to look like as well, lovely. So just keep in mind, sometimes, I know this isn't the loveliest thing to talk about, but after they've gone potty, their little area where they poop out of is not clean. And so I usually just use a wet wipe, and I wipe back there just so that it's clean. Just because it's sometimes not a problem, but sometimes it is a problem. So I'm using a wet wipe to do that. So, just be aware of that. We don't want our dogs going out and somebody going, ooh, that dog looks dirty, or, that dog's nails haven't been trimmed in forever. Oh boy, the hair is growing out of that dog like the Grinch. So just being aware of those things. I'm sorry that the phone is ringing. I cannot answer. Okay, good. And the other thing is, if you have a medical issue, you have something wrong with your dog, please reach out to the office and let them know. It doesn't mean reach out to the office and don't call your vet, especially if it's something you're concerned about. Definitely call your own vet, but reach out to the office and let them know what's going on. There may be a different avenue that they want you to take. And so they need to know what's going on. Other reminders, Laura, that I have forgotten. Those are the two big ones.
Brush, 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 brush.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Groom. Yes.
Stay ahead of those mats.
Yeah.
Some dogs, you can be pretty lackadaisical about it and they're fine. Some have that really fine hair that you look at it crosswise and it's a gnarled mess. I have one of each right now. If I don't stay after Nebula's hair, she's got mats. Timon, yeah, well, he doesn't need it nearly as constant of attention. So if you have one with that really, really super fine hair, you gotta keep it brushed out. Denozo is shedding like a fiend right now. He just looks pitiful, and these hunks of hair, and the rake works really well. Don't get the one that has the blade in it. But Furminator has a bad rap because they have one with a blade, but they also just have one that's a rake, and that works really, really well. And that's with it being hot, and brush, brush, brush.
Yep. Brush, brush, brush. And also make sure that their nails are not clicking. on the ground, on your tile. I have one dog who's not a problem because we walk a lot, and I have another dog who I feel like every other week I'm hearing click, 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 and I've just drummed them. So just be aware of that. If your dog
Can I
takes
can
to
I
drum,
can I add to that, Wendy?
sure.
So for the dreadlocks, the knots behind the ears, under the arms, and also uh near the groin area, as
Yep.
well as along the back legs, not their butt, but down the back of their legs. My guy here, he doesn't usually dreadlock very easily, but if I let it go for a while and don't check it, it's going to be the back areas or like on the inside of his legs. So you can practice your roll, and while you're practicing your roll, you can check for dreadlocks.
Yep. And you really have to like run your fingers, especially those dogs that have the longer hair. Grotto right now doesn't have real long hair, but Quinn has like bushes of hair. And so I have to run my fingers through them. And that's the only way I find the knots. If I just feel or brush, I don't necessarily notice them. So I really have to run my fingers through that hair to find it. Anybody have any questions about those things so far? Questions or concerns? Wow, we have 25 people on. That's so awesome.
Do you
Okay.
have
I heard I
any
was coming.
recommendations for a solution to clean their ears if there's a little bit of brown?
Yes. So I feel like did we show a video last time, or we just talked
I
about
think
it?
you talked about it, but
talked
remember,
about it.
you're not going to use a Q-tip, and you're not going to stick your finger in there because you got in trouble about that. You can just use a warm, wet washcloth to start. Just wring it out. It's not sopping wet. It's just a damp washcloth, and you just do like that. Wash the outside, lift it up and wash the flap. And if it needs more than that, there's ear wash available from the office, or there was, or there will be, Caitlin.
Or they'll send you the link to get it from Amazon.
Yes, there's two options, and I can send both. We don't have one in stock right now, and the other one we only have enough for office use.
Okay.
But it's a comparable price online to what we were selling it before.
Okay. So Christine, if you do use the wash, you're going to hold that ear up and kind of out like this, and you're going to pour some in, and then you're going to really squish the ear,
Massage it, yeah.
massage it really good. And then you're going to let them shake it out.
Okay.
Okay. And then you're going to wipe it clean if you feel like that's needed. It just depends on your dog's ears. And every dog is different.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Just in regards to grooming, medical stuff, anything? So the first thing.
Oh, sorry, Wendy.
Oh, no, go ahead.
While we're doing announcements, I'm going to send an email out to everybody, but just in case you guys haven't looked at the calendar for the newsletter that was just sent out, we did change our in-person training date from the version that went out last month.
So what is the in-person training date now?
It is now September 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Right, Laura?
10 to noon.
September 30th?
Oh, I say 2. I'm sorry, I meant 10 to 12. Yes, 10 to noon at a fire station. And if you go to the newsletter that was just sent out, it is in that version.
All right.
And
So
it's a station in Oviedo. And the reason that we had to change it was because they were doing a charity ride and they were short-staffed on the date that we had originally scheduled, but they were really interested in working with us and were really excited about it. And could we possibly change it to the 30th? So we did.
okay. So in-person training date has been changed to September 30th. I just put it in the chat.
Caitlin, not West. Which dog do you have? Caitlin.
Oh,
Velocity?
Aldi. She's got Aldi, I think, if that's
Yes,
the right
I have
Caitlin.
Aldi. I picked her up. This Friday will be like 3 weeks that I've had Aldi.
Okay, cool. Don't mind me, I'm just the attendance.
She's taking
taker.
attendance. So one of the first things we want to touch on is getting your dogs to play in traffic. Not
Careful,
literally,
careful.
okay, not literally, but taking them to all kinds of places. Like if your dog at all has an issue with walking like near cars or on a sidewalk, find a place where you can go that's safe, where there is a lot of traffic, and sit on the corner. I know the weather is getting maybe a little cooler there in Florida. Is that a yes? No? Okay, so maybe I'm just hoping for it. So maybe first thing in the morning then, before the sun comes up, you find a corner or somewhere where there is a lot of traffic, a lot of cars going by, and you find a spot to sit with the dog so that they can just watch the traffic. You don't have to walk. You can if you want to, but the goal is to just get them used to traffic if there happens to be an issue. If your dog can walk near traffic and not have a problem, then you're good. But that's something you would want to know.
Would I be remiss in saying they could feed breakfast or dinner?
That would be fine. Yep, that's always a thing. If you know your dog has an issue, please feed breakfast or dinner, whatever happens to work for you, whatever time of day it is. But the goal is to get them just used to being around traffic, just seeing lots of cars, hearing horns blaring, sirens or whatever. All of us live in different places. I don't know what access you have to that. Right now, I am in a campground, and so I have to go looking for that kind of thing, because in my quiet little campground, I don't have horns blaring and cars going. I do have golf carts and other types of things to expose them to, but loud traffic, I don't. So I've had to purposefully look for those things. The other thing is looking for various surfaces for them to walk on. And I'm just going to name a few. And if you can think of others, please pipe in. Wood, metal, grates, concrete, tile, carpet, grass, metal decks, docks, and playground equipment. I'm sure there's a ton of others. Those are just kind of to start with. So I try to expose my dogs a lot to playground equipment because I have access to that. So, and also metal decks because I'm near the water. But I don't have a lot of tile right now. I did in my home, but here I don't. So you got to figure out. So in your home, probably most of you have tile. So your dog's getting exposure to that every day. But what about metal? What about carpet? What about grass? What about wood? So you have to figure out how to get them to those places so that they can, because it definitely is a different feel. I know Laura and I raised one of the black labs, and he was a great dog, not afraid of anything. And then all of a sudden we took him on this metal dock, and you would have thought, we just done this awful thing. So you may be surprised. Some of your dogs are going to take it like a champ, and others of them are going to be like, oh, what is this that I'm stepping on? Most of our, go ahead.
Put something like a tarp. It doesn't have to be all unfolded, but just a little area of tarp and have them walk across it. Just something that it crinkles, it makes a noise. Plastic, just something that's a different feel. It kind of moves. If you've got something that kind of wiggles, I think the scale at Publix moves, and for some of the dogs that kind of whoa, unless
Yep.
you started with them as babies, it can put them off a little bit when it moves. So if you've got something that, you've got a board that you could put something under, it doesn't have to be something fancy. It could be something like a soup can, and when the dog steps on it, it moves. Feed them their kibble, give them treats while they're stepping on that, and it's moving, and then they're good.
I'll flatten cardboard boxes from Amazon, and I actually have my clients walk their dog across that. You'll be surprised how much of a challenge that is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Don't ever.
Victoria's Secret in the mall has black tile.
Yes.
You'd be surprised.
Yep.
Black tile, okay.
Yep.
Black tile in the malls.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's Victoria's Secrets, the stores. Libby would walk dogs through there, and they freak out. Almost every dog we had would freak out over the black tile.
And Sean says, I'm training dogs.
Right, right.
Amber
Well,
loves it.
actually,
She gets gifts all the time.
Basil had issued today. We were in the department and we were in Kohl's, and where the escalator is, that little metal pad that's right before the escalator.
Yep.
He wasn't sure about that. So we had some interesting conversation about that. So then we didn't have to go far for that.
Like the little metal piece that sits in front of the escalator.
In front of the escalator. He
Yeah.
was watching the people, but then he didn't really want to walk on that weird surface.
Yeah. Yep. Sometimes the elevators have a metal floor instead of like a carpet floor or something, and some of the dogs have an issue with that. All right, so
Oh,
we're
speaking of
gonna,
elevators, if you can find one that is open, has glass instead of being all
Yes.
walled in.
yes.
You may find that you've got a dog like our Dinozo who will flatten himself and not look until he gets up to the top if there's a glass one. He does not like looking down. He does. And then there's others that go, oh, wow, check that out. So the difference between an elevator that is all a box and the ones with glass walls.
Yeah. And in regards to anything we've just talked about, never drag your dog to the thing. If they're not sure about it, then okay, then you maybe walk away and come back to it later. Or maybe you just stand there for a few minutes with them, but do not ever drag them toward a thing that you know that they're afraid of. They will for sure be afraid of it forever or for a long time. So just, just kind of walk them through it. And also don't ever say, oh, it's all right. It's okay. It's just an elevator. You just say, hey, it's an elevator. No big deal. The tone of your voice is huge. Okay. We're not reassuring our dogs. There's nothing to be reassured of. It's just an elevator, or it's just a metal piece to an escalator, or whatever works for you to say, but you're just kind of talking them through it. But we're not babying them. We're not saying, oh, it's all right. It's okay. Because then that leads them to believe that maybe it's not okay. There's something they should be afraid of. And so remember, the goal is confident dogs. It's all about confidence, building confidence so that they can pretty much conquer anything. All right, so we're going to talk about Leave It, because I know that was something that Debbie had put on. By the way, thank you for I think 2 people, maybe there's more now because I haven't looked in a few hours, but that commented on something they needed help with, because this is really all for us. It's for us to learn collectively together, okay? But we need to know what you need to know. And if we don't know what you need to know, then we don't know. So
And
the
Debbie,
first thing,
you're not alone in that whole Leave It thing.
that's right. Yep.
Right now, Timon will pick up anything, which is a good thing. But he picked up this bolt. I don't know where he found it. If you've got anybody that's a client who's doing automotive work, he's your dog. You need him to get a tool, not a problem. The problem is right now he won't give it to you. So we're doing a lot of drop it, leave it, come on. And it's a game. We're getting better. I keep telling myself it's getting better, but Leave It is just not in his wheelhouse yet. So I'm anxious to hear what Wendy tells us.
You're so funny. Okay, before we do Leave It though, I want you to either type it in the chat or say it out. And probably type it in the chat would be easier. Some things that are not allowed for our service dogs in training. Some things that are just generally across the board are not allowed for our service dogs in training. I have some things in mind that I've written down, but think about what our service dogs and training dogs are not allowed to do, or allowed to be, or allowed to get on, or Yes. Oh, you're getting it. Yes. There's more. Nice. Nice. Yes. Yes. Good one. That's a good one. I have something similar to that, Melissa, but that's a good one. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to go back and say, up on furniture, and somebody else said not on furniture unless they're practicing jump on. So if you're working with them to jump on, you want to make sure that you're also getting them off. Good. So in a pool, okay. Some of our dogs just end up, you guys living in Florida, I had a pool. I know they end up in the pool. I didn't ever encourage them to get in the pool, but if they fell in the pool or made their way into the pool, I would make sure they knew how to get out of the pool. Not sleeping in your bed, escalators, dog parks, eating off the floor. So I didn't put eating off the floor, but I put eating people food. We should not be feeding them people food.
Kelly put table food.
You know, once in a while, I'll put maybe a little piece of chicken in their kibble as a treat, but we're not just handing them people food from the table, especially from the table. Couches or furniture. Somebody said, can they eat ice cubes? Yes, I do feed the dogs ice cubes. Yep, because they love them. And don't jump on visitors. Thank you. Yes, that was my first one. No jumping on people. If your dog is jumping on people, you need to get some help for your dog. Find out what to do so that's not happening. If they're puppies, that's something they start right away with, and you need to stop it so that it doesn't continue on down the line to the next few raisers. We want to make sure they're not jumping on people. So if that's making them sit, and also not making a friend would be a thing if they're jumping. Let's see. Not pulling on lead. Yep. No table food, no escalators. And no pulling the leash. Yeah, you guys got everything. Everything. The only thing that I added was not making a friend. And that really depends on the dog. If your dog can sit or stand nicely next to you and allow someone to come up and say hello to them and not freak out and not like wiggle themselves all over the place, they can just, ooh, I'm good. Then you can allow them to make a friend, but I would not do it every time. And I would also make sure that you're telling people, especially if your dog is misbehaving, and you know what misbehavior looks like with your dog, then I would say, no, I'm sorry. I always put my hand up and say, not today. Because I don't want to reinforce that bad behavior. I don't want to reinforce the person walking up and my dog just going nuts. And sometimes that happens. Our dogs love people. They're just people, dog people. And so they want to. And so we as raisers have to be really aware of that and not feel like, oh, I have to let them make a friend with everybody. No, you don't. You don't. These dogs are in training and they should very rarely be making a friend. I do it special. And I have to say, I used to years ago before I just learned some things, let my dog make a friend with everybody because I kind of felt like some people do, like, oh, people love these dogs. And now I've learned that it's really to the detriment of the dog. It's not good for them to learn, oh, I can make friends with everybody. So we, as their handler, have to pick and choose when that's going to happen. And it should not be happening when the dog is acting like a knucklehead. So knucklehead would be they're bouncing, dancing on their feet. Knucklehead would be jumping. Knucklehead would be pulling you. That's a big one. Ever pull you, you immediately turn around. Sorry, peace out. Not making a friend today, especially. That's a big one. So good job, you guys. Okay. And so now that we've gone over some things they're not allowed to do, what are some musts? What are some things our dogs should be doing on a fairly regular basis? And you can type that in the chat. You guys are good.
Was there under the category of not things they should not do, sniffing everything as they're walking?
You know what,
that
Sean, we did
listed?
not, it was not listed, and I didn't have it. That is absolutely, once we cover this, we'll circle back. Yes, that's a good one. Nice. Okay, so we've got watch me. That's a big one. For those of you, I'm looking at maybe a couple of new people. So remember, watch me and look are two different commands. Watch me is to get the dog to look at you. Look is to get the dog to look at whatever you are getting them to retrieve. To busy on command, to stay quiet, loose leash walk, be invisible at a restaurant, go in at meals in the house, come or recall, loose leash walking, come when called, drop it, leave it, place when. So that's Jeff. So that I would say that is up to the individual raiser. He said place when cooking in kitchen. Some people don't want the dog in the kitchen, and some people don't care. So that's really kind of an individual thing. I personally didn't really care if my dogs were in the kitchen. When I was in a house, now I have a little bit smaller space, so it's not as easy. So I will make them go out to a different spot, but that I think that's individual. Wait for dinner. Yep. Wait's a big one. Wait at doors, wait in the car. And somebody said be seen, not heard. Yeah. In some cases, yes. And then load on command. Yeah. So some of the things I came up with, which nobody said, was they need to be sleeping in a crate. At some point in the day, your dog should be in a crate. So if you work at night and you come home in the day and you sleep for a little bit, whatever it looks like for you, but the crate should not be put away. Crate should be out. They should have exposure to it. And if you leave the door open, they need to know that that's their place. Okay. And I put not greeting people, which we kind of already talked about. And Sean came up with a good one for some things that our dogs should not be allowed to do. So when you go out to take them to potty, you should not be allowing them to smell every single thing. It's kind of how they release energy and read the town and read the newspaper. That's what I call it. But you should not be letting them sniff every single thing. It should be on when you say. So for instance, we'll walk a little bit and then I'll stop and I'll let Grotto sniff an area. And I'll be like, okay, let's go. And we'll go down a little bit farther. If I allowed him to, he would sniff every single thing along the way. But I don't allow him to. I allow him to when I stop.
Would this be a good use of the release command?
Could be. Yep. Did everybody hear him?
And by that, what he'd mean was, if you say release, then the dog can have a sniff fest.
Yes.
They can sniff, wander, sniff, take their time, sniff as long as that one wants, but that's a release. If you are going for a walk, if you've got a mission, you're going down the sidewalk to the grocery store and there's stuff on, leave it, let's go.
That's what my original question was about. Leave it is Lace has such a strong nose that she sniffs every single thing, as if whether we're walking just as a leisurely walk, or if we're in the middle of CVS or Publix, she has to sniff every item as we go. I mean, she wants to, and I'm constantly correcting her, saying, leave it, leave it, leave it, as we're walking through the store. And everything is scented, candles and cookies and the meat department. Oh my God. So, she is, both paws up on the meat counter, trying to sniff all the cheese, the ground beef and the chicken, which of course is not allowed, but it's a real struggle to get her not to sniff everything that she encounters. And I don't know how to correct that. Outside, I can deal with it outside, but when we're in a store, it's I do a lot of watch me, trying to just, you know, keep her attention on me instead of on the food that we're passing as we're going through the store. But any other comments about that?
Well, how do you handle it when you're outside and she's just, do you give her free rein?
No. Sometimes I walk down the middle of the street just so she can't get close enough to the grass and sniff every blade of grass. So that, and I try to keep her in a heel or a side position. But if we get anywhere near grass, sometimes I'll say, okay, now you can take your break. And I stop walking and I let her sniff until she's done. And then I say, okay, let's go. But if I don't walk in the middle of the street, which I can do in my neighborhood because there's not a lot of traffic, she wants to sniff every step of the way. So I do give her sniff breaks, but and in our yard, when she's not leashed, she can sniff whatever she wants, obviously, because I don't have control of her. But she has her nose to the ground all the time. So I do a lot of, like I said, trying to get her to watch me and pay attention to me, and I praise her when she does. And so it's when we're in a store that's the biggest problem.
Do you practice leave it at home?
Inside,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't.
Well,
Um,
that's where you start.
yeah, I guess I don't much. Maybe on occasion I do. She's really good at retrieving and picking things up. She helps me do laundry. She carries, dirty socks into the laundry room and puts them in the laundry basket. So she's good at retrieving and dropping and giving, very good at giving. But the sniffing and the just wanting to sniff everything. It's not that she wants to put everything in her mouth. She just wants to sniff it.
Right.
So,
okay, Sean, go ahead.
Thanks. First off, I guess there's people here that I've actually never met before, so I don't know that everybody knows me. I'm Sean. I'm down in West Palm Beach. I used to work for New Horizons back in the day. I broke off, got my own clients and that kind of thing. So I'm a professional dog trainer. I've met some of you. Val, I see. Katie L has the cutest picture of a puppy ever. So the walking dogs that sniff everything problem. A lot of times this is the same thing for my regular clients that have regular pets and practicing walking. And I actually wouldn't call this necessarily a leave it because you don't want to overuse leave it. I almost save leave it for when it's really important. I think they're about to grab a piece of food or they're about to grab something dangerous. That's where I'll use my leave it. For this situation where they're sniff happy, I will practice walking with my hand down by my hip as an engagement exercise so that I'm telling the dog to basically follow my hand. Do we still teach the touch game, the 2-finger touch game at all?
No.
Everybody's looking at me like
I
I'm
mean,
crazy.
we've talked
Okay.
about it, but not
Okay.
not on a regular basis.
Back in my day, we used to teach a touch game where the dog would be taught to touch your 2 fingers. So you could hold your hand out, put 2 fingers out, and the dog would literally boop it with their nose, which was really good training towards lights and switch. So I still use that. I practice at home and I play this game with the dogs where I teach them to just touch my 2 fingers with their nose. They literally just touch it, they get treat. That's how I feed them their dinner and things like that. They think it's a fun game. I'm in the grocery store walking and this dog is sniffing every can, every package. Well, I can put my hand by my side, say touch, and now they know that they're supposed to be engaged with me, not the aisle of cans. And as Valerie pointed out, holding a treat and walking, practicing your walking drills at home, holding a treat at your side is a really, really good idea. The people that do professional obedience training, if you watch some of those videos on YouTube, you would swear those dogs are like duct taped to that person's leg. They are literally stuck to that person's side, which is a really powerful tool for a service dog that's supposed to be focused on their person anyway. So doing walking drills with your hand by your side and really getting them to focus on you really helps.
John,
Yes.
I adapted the 2-finger touch to a push. And I put
Oh.
I put my hand down with a treat between my fingers and tell them to push. And it's the same thing, but
Yes.
it's the push command that we are going to be teaching.
Perfect.
So it's not a 2-finger thing. It's just my hand,
Gotcha.
but it's the same.
I'm outdated. I'm from 2018, so a lot of my stuff, FYI, is going to be a little outdated. But yeah, no, Laura that's a great idea. That works great.
But it's the same thing. It's just a different target, different word. And I would suggest a smelly treat. Something that these are labs, right? Lace, sway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give them something that they go, oh, something that if you hold it in your hand, even your hand is going to smell like it for a little bit.
Yeah.
That
You could
will
wash
help.
your hands in peanut butter.
I do take treats with me to the grocery stores. So if she is, does what I ask, then she does get a treat. But it's constant, but she's getting better at checking in with me on a regular basis. So
That's the
I
first
guess
step.
I guess that's progress.
Yep, and I would practice it at home, Debbie.
Okay.
I would practice it at home. That's where it starts. You can get her to do it at home. What do you say, Sean? 21 times or something?
Yeah, the magic number is 21. 21 sessions. And when you say sessions, it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm not talking hours.
Right.
So 5-minute walks back and forth in your kitchen, having your hand by your side, and again, feeding them their breakfast and dinner that way.
Yep.
I know we want to get away from treats, and that's great, but at home with their breakfast, with their dinner, that's when you can practice all these things. So
Yep.
21 sessions at home before you even try doing this outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
And put some of those things that she likes to smell where they'd be out. If you're thawing a thing of hamburger, set it on the counter, and as you're walking by, watch me touch, so that she's focused on you and not, oh, that smelled good, where is that? If candles are one of her kryptonite in the store, put some out and walk past them.
Okay, thank you. I'll try that.
Yeah. Have you had her
Let us know.
steal a loaf
Let
of
us know
bread
how
off
it
of the
works.
shelf yet?
No.
Yeah, well, I have a puppy right now who has stolen a loaf of bread and a thing of Hawaiian rolls.
Hank got marshmallows off the shelf at the grocery store once.
To be fair, I might grab a roll of Hawaiian rolls too, but
yeah.
And the thing is, he picks it up.
He picks
it up. It's not even like he grabs the bread. He picks it up from the tag, from the plastic part, and he's holding it in his mouth. It's dangling. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm going for a loaf of bread up here, and he is going for a loaf of bread down here. So yeah, that's happened twice so far. I had to put them in my cart, buy them. So yeah, the struggle is real.
At least he didn't tuck them in his crate for snacks later.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So I
heard
definitely
rustling in the crate one night and thought, what is that sound? And it was a little dog carrier. This was a personal pet. It was a mini dachshund. And we thought, what have you got in there? We reached in and there was a sack of bread. We don't know how she got it because she couldn't counter surf because she was only that tall. But she had found a sack of bread and had it tucked away for midnight snacks in her crate.
It happens. It happens. Yes. I think Leave It is probably one of the hardest. I was going to go ahead, especially for a couple of our new raisers, and show a Leave It video just so you could kind of see how the process has started. And some of you that have dogs that are maybe a little bit older and maybe they're struggling with that. Let's see. So last time I did a video, while
you're talking about Leave It.
Yes. Let's see.
Leave It, they never get it. So if you've put down a piece of food or a piece of their treat or whatever, they don't get that. they leave that one and you reward them with something else. Leave
Right.
it is, you don't get that, you don't touch it.
And some, if you look up Leave It videos on YouTube, some trainers will reward them with the treat that they've told them to leave, and that's not what we practice. So
Right, you know, you
just,
put
you
the
know.
little, you put it on their paw and they'll say, leave it. No, 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 no. For us, that's wait.
Yep.
That would be wait.
Yep.
I have a fake treat that I'll hold. It's a, you know, part of the whatever treats I'm giving them, but the right hand will have the fake treat and then the left hand's the one I'm rewarding from, and then switch, because these dogs are smart enough to just start watching the treat hand and not watch the other hand at all.
Yep.
So you have to mix it up and you have to use a substitute treat. You can't give them the one you told them to leave.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so let's see if I can do this. Let's see. Hold on. Be patient. All right, let's see. Here we go. Okay. Share, 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 share. Yes, I did it. Okay, can you see the video? Yes. Can you still see the video? Yes. Okay. Now the trick will be, can you hear the video? All right, just a minute. Stop
But there's
sharing.
captions.
I know, but not everybody loves. Okay, so I think I'm going to do it right this time. All right, let's see. Everybody keep their fingers crossed. Come on. All right.
How to teach your dog a leave. This can be useful when you need to ask your dog not to pick up something that they're not supposed to have. You'll need 2 different types of food rewards for this training, something that your dog really loves, like chicken or sausage, and something not so tasty too. Dry dog biscuit is perfect. You'll need to mark the good behaviour with a yes or a clicker before you follow through with the reward. Make sure you watch our advice on using a clicker first before using one in your training. Place a few pieces of the less tasty food on the floor where your dog can see it, but don't let them take it. In your other hand, have the tastier food behind your back. Stop your dog from taking the biscuit on the floor by placing your hand over it. They're probably going to try and nudge your hand out of the way, so make sure you hold on. As soon as they stop trying to get the food and move their nose away, mark them with a yes and reward them with the tastier food. Repeat this and make sure to pick up the biscuit off the floor each time before covering with your hand. Keep practicing this until your dog understands that they only get the food reward once they move away from your hand. Eventually, they will stop trying to get the food that you place on the floor. Once they do this, you are then ready to move on. Repeat the action, but this time wait until your dog looks up at you and gives you eye contact. You may need to encourage this the first few times by saying their name, but some will do this naturally. When they look up at you, mark with a yes and follow with a reward. Next, you're going to slightly move your hand away from the food when you place it on the floor. But keep it close by just in case your dog tries to take the food. If they do manage to grab it, don't worry, just start the step again. As before, when your dog looks up at you, mark them with a yes and reward them with the tastier food. Keep practicing this, gradually moving your hand further away, but stay at the ready. You don't want to give your dog the opportunity to get the food on the floor. Once your dog has the hang of this, they should start to look up at you as soon as you put the food down on the floor. You can now introduce your cue word. Say leave just as you put the food down. Remember to always keep this positive. If you shout leave, your dog may just get worried. Once your dog is consistently successful, you can then start to practice placing tastier food on the floor. You may have to go back to the earlier steps at this stage, as this is going to make it much harder for your dog. Remember, try to never let them get what's on the floor. You can then try to walk your dog past a tasty distraction whilst they're on the lead. Say leave when they look at the food and wait for them to respond. You can then reward them when they look up at you. Keep practicing your leave when out on walks with different distractions and in different locations. You can keep making things more challenging for your dog, like dropping food from a height, moving it closer to them, or even putting it on their paws. Remember to have fun and always reward your dog with the tastier treat for leaving something. That's how to teach your dog a leave.
Okay, so the first thing that I liked is she's on the floor with the dog. She's, you know, she's in close proximity. She's not trying to do it from far away. I did like that. I also like at the very end where she has the dog on the leash. And notice, Debbie, she's practicing. She's doing that all in her house. She has the dog on the leash. She has the treat on the floor. And when the dog goes for it, she doesn't yank the dog. At least it looked to me like she didn't yank the dog back. She allowed the dog to go to the end of the leash, but he couldn't get the treat. And I'm assuming at that point she said, leave it. And then the dog looked up at her and she rewarded him. And so we're not, again, we've talked about this before. We're not yanking our dogs back. We want us to be able to say, leave it, and get them to look back at us and then reward them. So like, you don't want to go through the store the whole time with your dog and say, leave it, like Sean said. I mean, that should be saved for really important things. So I think starting there with your dog in your house, just practicing that, you know, I mean, those things, they are, they do want to get to things that smell good. You know, that's just their dog. So, Sean or Laura, thoughts on that?
Piece
Laura?
of hot dog or French fries. The things that they're going to see French fries on the floor at a restaurant, almost for sure.
Right.
I mean, maybe you go to nicer places than I do, but the places I go, the French fries are traps set for the dogs. Use them at home so that they go, oh yeah, that's a French fry. I can't have that. Hot dogs are a good smelly thing. And I think that's what Wendy and I were using. Do you have that video from
I know, I
Target?
see your note. I'll have to look and see.
We went into Target one evening. Oh yeah, Caitlin, you know that. And we were working with our dogs on Leave It out in the world, but we didn't do it at peak store time. We did it when it was pretty empty. But there were the distractions of all the things on the shelves, but we had put trap down on the floor, which was something smelly, and I think it was hot dog that night or sausage or something.
You guys were in the pet food aisle at that point too, or the toy aisle when we saw you.
Right.
Yep, that was the next place we went. We started at just a regular aisle, which wasn't as hard, and then we tried it in the pet food aisle, which is full of smell traps for them. So,
Question.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so she's sitting on the floor and she has this really yummy treat that smells good or whatever behind her back. How do you keep your dog from going behind you to get that smelly treat? Because that's where he's going.
Sure.
He doesn't want that nasty stuff on the floor. How do you, you know, I mean, how many times can you play keep away? How do you keep them away?
So
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
go ahead.
Okay, so again, professionally, the video was perfect. That is exactly how I teach it. Although I realize now I need to use a light British accent. It sounds way better than when I do it. But other than that, yes, most dogs will actually go behind your back. Remember, we as human beings are vision based. We look at things. If a loud noise were to go off to your left right now, you're going to turn and look. That's just how we're built. That is not how dogs are built. Dogs go off their nose first. They go off their ears second. They go off their vision third. I'm not calling them blind. They are not colorblind. They can see just fine. But their nose is their most important tool. So if you have food behind your back, yes, they're going to find it. So what I'll do is I'll have a dummy treat in my hand that I'm using in my front hand with the supply in my back hand, or I'll have the supply somewhere up higher that I can reach that they can't. But I'll have a dummy treat, in part of my hand, but I'm still giving them the reward. I'm still covering the food on the ground with that same hand. So you can kind of dupe them out. You can hold one for bait and not use that one necessarily. So there are ways around it.
So Melissa, in answer to your question, I'm going to show you. So I sat down on a chair. I had Grotto in front of me, and I had the not so yummy treats in my hand, and I had the better treats up on the counter. And this is kind of what we came up with. Hold on. Let's see if the sound works. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
And maybe her dog's not as smart.
Yes. Good, leave it. Good boy. Good, leave it. Yes. Gotta leave it. Yes, good boy. Good job. Leave it. Ah, leave it. Good boy. Good job. Leave it. Ah. Good boy. Good job. So wait, nope. So
He was giving you the stink eye.
I know. I love the last part where he slowly looks up at me. So the next time I'll work with him, I'll work more at him making eye contact. This time we've only done this a couple of times together. And I'm just working on him leaving. So in my hand, I had a treat in each hand, the same treat. And then I put the yummy treats, the softer, I don't know if they're chicken or beef, up on the counter. So those were sitting on the counter. And every time he looked away from my hands, then I treated him from the counter. So
I'm going to point out something and commend you highly for it. You did not pull your hand away when the dog went for the treat. That is the number one mistake everyone makes, is they have the food in their hand is open, dog goes for it, and they pull their hand away. You're just teaching the dog to lunge. And so you don't want that. So you can either close your hand, or what she did was she said, clearly, just once, and the dog was able to leave it alone. Thankfully, that was great. So yeah, leaving your hand in place, in space, is highly important. That was really, really good, Wendy.
So I think, Debbie, with some of those, maybe trying some of those with your dog with Lace at home, in a controlled environment, you might see some results when you go out.
Okay.
Yeah. It all starts at home.
All right.
We'd like to think we can take them out and they're just going to act perfect every time. And it doesn't happen. No. Yeah, so we're working on it because mine obviously likes bread. He's very much into bread. Oh, and ribs.
Are you using cubes of bread for his treat?
No, I'm not. Nope, I don't know if it's just the smell. I can't figure it out, but yeah. We're working on it though, aren't we, Bubby? Yeah.
Those loaves that he made you buy could be his treat supply.
Not to be gross, but it smells like their paws, maybe. So maybe that's the attraction. I don't know.
I don't know. He's just basically a counter surfer or getting things he shouldn't get. That's his. Last night it was ribs. Tim had closed in a thing, ribs, and it was in a plastic bag. I was out of the room literally for 30 seconds. And yeah, so we're working on it. We'll get there.
So not even Wendy's dogs are perfect,
That's
people.
right.
That means they're all works in progress.
That's right.
We all have successes. We all have failures.
Yeah.
Ask me about Publix on the scale. Yeah.
So you
just like us, they have good days and bad days, just like us.
That's exactly right. Yep. That's for sure. And we just keep working at it, And if you're feeling super frustrated with something, walk away from it, because your dog can feel that. Just go away, just stop whatever you're doing. If you're working on something and it's not working, just stop. Don't continue.
Travels down the leash is the
Yes,
phrase you'll hear often.
Yes. Yep. I have that written a lot in my notes. So it does. It definitely travels down the leash. Your dog is going to feel it. They're going to know when you're frustrated or angry at them, and you just need to stop. Something's not working. Don't keep going with it. Come back and try it another day.
Going back to what I mentioned earlier with the scent detection stuff, I branched into scent detection when I was bored, and their noses are so sharp they can literally smell your mood, and not just your current mood. They can smell your mood from earlier. If you were really angry in your bathroom earlier and the dog came into the bathroom 5 hours later, they will smell that you were angry in the bathroom 5 hours ago. Their noses are insane. So if you are not feeling up to task, if you are tired, if you're anxious, if you're aggravated, you don't have to train today. Just calm down until you're good to go again. I tell this to my clients all the time. I've legitimately driven an hour to go to a class. The client had a really bad day, and I was like, "We don't need to train today. That's it." I walked out. I drove to my next class.
Yep.
Good stuff goes down the leash too.
Yes.
If you're confident, your dog is going to understand, oh, okay, I'm in good hands. But if you're anxious about, oh, there's a dog, then your dog's going to pick that up.
Yeah.
But if you see the other dog over there and you go, yep, that's a dog, and you're just faking it till you make it, your dog, the good stuff goes down the leash too.
Yes. Yep. We see a lot of dogs here in the campground, and I love it when my dogs were walking by and their dogs are like, rah, 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 and they're lunging for Grotto, and I'm just like, yep, it's a dog. And he's like, yep, it's just a dog. So that he does really well. He could care less. He doesn't even hardly look at them when they're acting ridiculous and like lunging towards him. He's like, you are fools. So your dogs feel that confidence. He knows that I got him. And so he's like, look at me.
Or they look at you like, did you see what they did?
Yes. Yes, Bissell is so good at that.
I was going to say Bissell.
Oh my God. That dog knew when other dogs were acting like idiots.
Well, it's because he had been one himself.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But
yes.
we were on campus with dogs in training on a teacher work day. And the sheriff had a dog that was part of the taking dogs to visit the schools thing. And the dog had been in training for a whole 6 weeks. And he saw our dogs and was losing his mind. And our dogs are looking at us like, I don't think you're supposed to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. It is 6:58. Anything else that you know what? Somebody else, wait a minute. Maybe we might have already addressed this. Hold on 1 second. Let me just check.
The best thing to do to get your dogs to ignore other dogs. Be more interesting than the other dogs. Be squeaky voiced. Have some wonderful thing for them. Have them watch you. Tell them that they're wonderful. But yeah, just be more interesting than that dog.
Yeah.
Redirect.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the nice way to say it.
Yes. Yeah, it's absolutely. So Joni Cornell had said, is there anything wrong with a dog growling as a play growl, not aggressive, having the front end down, which is their play bow, and butt in the air with their tail going with the toy? You can tell, I will hope that most of you could tell at this point when your dog is truly growling and when it's just like what we call the golden growl, which is a happy growl. There's definitely a difference. And so Micah was a growler, just play growl, like he would play with Quinn or he'd play with me and we'd be playing ball and he would be growling, but not in an aggressive way. What are you doing, buddy? Sorry, I have a dog under the desk. Come here.
Just one?
Just one. And so I could tell the difference. There were times when he would play with Quinn when he was getting too rough and I would stop. Okay, that's enough. But usually when he was playing ball with me or playing ball, he had this happy golden growl. So Joni, I would say just know the difference. You know when your dog has a happy growl and when it's not a happy growl.
Pug elicits lots of growling.
Yes.
At my house. Denozo and Timon will just be grumbling at each other while they're tugging and tugging and tugging. And usually it's just all in the best fun. Apparently, last night Denozo went to get a piece of the rope and got a piece of Timon. They're fine and there was no blood, no harm, no foul. but it was like all of a sudden Timon let go and the game was over. But he went right back to Dinozo and was like, and Dinozo wasn't aggressive at that point. I think he just tried to reposition because the growling had not changed in tone. And so Lamar and I were like, wow, what happened? It was right there in front of us. But I think Dinozo just got a piece of him when he tried to readjust to get the thing.
And to add to that, with dogs, there's so many body language cues, sound cues. They make so many different sounds. There is no one signal that by itself means what you think it means. The one that I hear commonly, oh, their tail's wagging. That must mean they're friendly.
Ooh.
The one of 3 times that I was attacked where the dog tried to kill me was with a dog that had its tail wagging. Oh, they're showing their teeth. That must mean they're angry and aggressive. No, they actually practice the ugly face. You'll see little puppies making the ugly face all the time. There is no one signal by itself that means what you think it does. It has to be a combination of things. And it's really hard sometimes to see those combinations. The body stiffening, what they call the whale eye, where the dog looks to the side. These things in combination can mean something. And super fast, if you take away a dog's growl, then they'll just go to the next step with no growl. So they'll go from I'm okay, I'm friendly to bite because you took their growl away. So you don't want to punish the growl. You don't necessarily want to reward it either, but
No.
you don't want to punish the growl so then they stop doing it, because that growl is a warning. It is, even a play growl is a good thing so that they can communicate with each other.
Yep.
So beware.
Yep. We definitely don't want to stop it. You just want to be aware of it. You just want to be listening.
And just like kids, the tone changes. You can hear them playing, everything's cool, and you hear that tone change and think, okay, guys, knock it off. And the dogs respond to that very same thing. Okay, that's enough. And they go to their corners.
Are some dogs naturally more vocal? Because I've got a household of howlers now, but I think it's because of Cairo's Great Dane. But I didn't know if I just ended up with a vocal Bowie and Lager or if it was Cairo's fault.
Could be a combination of both. Could
I see
be,
Valerie laughing.
you know, that Cairo's doing it and now the other two think, oh, we can do it too.
Okay.
I mean,
Every
yeah,
dog
I
is
think-
different.
Yes. Yep.
The guy I have does not make any noises, which was really weird for me, from going from Neptune, who is one of the most vocal dogs, to this guy. I haven't heard him make a sound in like 2 years.
Yeah. Yep. Every dog is different. That's true. One last thing. I think Sean answered it. What's the best thing to do to get our dogs to ignore other dog is redirect. Yeah. Well, so Kelly, when you say ignore, do you mean like not pull towards them? What is ignoring? I mean, I know what ignoring is, but what are you? Is she there? Hello? Did she leave? Maybe she left. No, she's still there. I see her. So I'm thinking, I know for me, like I said earlier, when I walk, I know that Grotto, and even with Micah, they could see the dog, because I would see the dog and I would say, oh, yep, there's a dog. It's coming up. Yep, look, it has, I'll say it has 4 legs and 2 ears and a tail, just like yours. I mean, I'll just kind of go through this running dialogue with the dog, and they don't really pay much attention. I mean, I have had dogs like lunge at other dogs. And so I think at that point, you definitely would need to redirect them. That's the big thing. The goal is to get your dog to walk past other dogs and just act like they're not there. And so you have to decide what's going to work best for you. Redirection would be definitely one. Talking to your dog is another. That's always been a huge one for me. And
If you see it elevating and you're still fairly far away from the other dog, and their language, making them turn their back on the other dog is a big deal. In their language, turning your back on somebody means you trust them. So if you make your dog turn around and now their back is to that dog over there, you're telling your dog you trust that dog over there.
Yeah.
So if you start to see it elevate and you think like, okay, I don't think I can handle it past this point, make your dog turn around. Start backing up, make your dog turn and face you so that their back is towards that other dog. Redirect.
And sometimes your dog, I know for me, if I do that, my dog will look behind And I'll be like, yep, it's a dog. Come on, let's go. We're, yep, they're looking
Now
at
you
you.
practice your watch me.
Yeah,
So.
yes, yep. Kelly said she can't unmute. So Kelly, I hope we answered your question. I hope we gave you some tools. All right, anything else? It is 7:06.
8:06 for those of us in
Oh,
Florida.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, 8:06. Yes, sorry. That's
Just one
correct.
last note from me, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So again, I branched off on my own company. However, I have a standing offer with New Horizons. If you have a New Horizons dog, you may contact me at any time. I am not a veterinarian. I am not the office, but the first thing you must do is contact the office. You must call the office to call me or to get in contact with me. Because if you get in contact with me, the first thing I'm going to say is, did you call the office? Okay. So if the office is okay with it, Caitlin, Amy, whoever's at the office, if they're okay with it, then they'll redirect you to me and you can ask me any training question you want. I'm available all the time. I don't sleep anymore. It's fine. Just reach out, ask your questions. It's okay. It's completely free. I will never charge you for a New Horizons dog. This has been a standing offer forever. I don't always get to make these meetings, obviously, if you've never seen me
Yes.
before. This is very rare. So,
Yes, thank you, Sean, for being here. We
Oh.
really appreciate it. Your input is
and I was a free night,
valuable.
so it's usually
Oh,
not.
well,
This
we're
is a
glad.
one in blue moon. It is a super moon, actually.
Oh my
What?
gosh, that's funny.
Was.